I need you to be honest with yourself for the next few minutes. Not the kind of honest you perform for other people, the kind you only access in the quiet moments when nobody is watching and the carefully constructed story you tell about your love life falls away, and what is left is just the truth of what you have actually been experiencing. You have been forcing connections. Not dramatically, not in the obvious way that looks like desperation from the outside, in the subtle, exhausting, invisible way that only the person doing it truly understands. The way you edit yourself before certain conversations, the way you hold back opinions that you sense would not land well, the way you adjust your energy to match what feels acceptable in the space of a particular person, the way you notice yourself performing a version of who you are that is carefully calibrated to be lovable rather than simply being who you actually are and letting that be enough. And the most painful part is not the editing itself. It is the fact that even after all the editing, even after all the careful presenting and the strategic revealing and the deliberate management of how much of yourself you show and when, it still does not work. The connections that required that much management still do not last. They still end. Or they limp along in a way that feels nothing like what you always believed love was supposed to feel like, and you are left wondering whether the problem is that you did not manage yourself well enough, or whether the problem runs deeper than any amount of management could fix. Today, I am going to tell you what the actual problem is, and the answer is going to be both uncomfortable and the most freeing thing you have heard in a very long time. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm building toward is the specific thing your love life has needed someone to say to you for longer than you realize. Drop an amen in the comments right now if you have been exhausting yourself trying to be the version of yourself that a particular person could love, instead of simply being who you are. Like this video, because this word needs to reach every chosen one who has been treating their authentic self as something that needs to be managed rather than simply offered. And subscribe to this channel, because what God is about to release in your love life requires you to show up as your full self, and every message here was created to prepare you for exactly that. Here is the truth that this message was sent to deliver. Any connection that requires you to shrink is the wrong connection. Not a connection that needs work, not a connection that requires growth and compromise and the normal adjustments that every genuine relationship asks of the people in it. Wrong. Fundamentally misaligned at the level that matters most, because here is what shrinking actually is in the context of love. It is not humility. It is not the healthy kind of selflessness that good relationships require. It is the suppression of the essential self in order to maintain access to a connection that was never built to receive the essential self in the first place. And a connection that cannot receive your essential self cannot love you. It can love the version you present. It can be comfortable with the edited offering. It can sustain itself on the carefully managed portions of who you are that you have calculated are safe to share, but it cannot love you, because you are not fully there. The real you, the full, unreduced version that carries everything God placed in you, is standing just outside the door of that connection, waiting to be let in. And the connection keeps the door closed. Not always maliciously, often simply because it is not built with the space to hold what is actually there. And that is not a connection worth shrinking for. Let me show you what the shrinking has actually cost you, because I want you to understand the full weight of what you have been paying. It has been costing you the possibility of being genuinely known. There is a fundamental human need to be fully known by someone and fully chosen in spite of that knowing. Not chosen for the presentation, not loved for the performance, known in the complete and vulnerable and sometimes uncomfortable sense of having someone see everything that is there, the depth and the mess and the intensity and the particular and sometimes inconvenient ways you move through the world and choose to stay and love what they find. That experience is not possible in a connection that requires shrinking, because shrinking, by definition, hides what would need to be seen for genuine knowing to occur. Every time you edit yourself to fit a connection, you are protecting yourself from rejection, but you are also simultaneously making genuine knowing impossible. You are trading the risk of being fully seen and rejected for the certainty of being partially seen and accepted.
and that trade feels safer. It is not, because partial acceptance of a partial presentation is not love. It is an arrangement. A comfortable arrangement sometimes, a warm one even, but not love in the way that you were designed to give and receive it. It has been draining energy that was meant for something else. Shrinking takes work, constant, invisible, effortful work that runs in the background of every interaction with someone you are trying to make yourself fit for. The monitoring of what you say and how you say it, the recalibration after moments when the real you slips through and you are not sure how it landed, the management of the natural expression of who you are in order to stay within the boundaries of what feels acceptable in that connection. All of that work is exhausting, and it is exhausting in a way that is difficult to explain to people who have not experienced it, because from the outside, the relationship can look fine, normal even. But from the inside, you are running a constant background process of self-management that leaves you depleted in ways that have nothing to do with the ordinary demands of being in a relationship. That energy was not meant to be spent on self-management. It was meant to be spent on love, on the genuine, effortless investment of who you are into something that was built to receive it without asking you to reduce it to a manageable size. It has been teaching you that who you are fully is too much. This is perhaps the most damaging cost, because every season spent in a connection that requires shrinking gradually reinforces a narrative about yourself that is completely false, but that repetition makes feel increasingly true. The narrative that the full version of you is too much, too intense, too deep, too particular in your needs and your ways and your particular expression of who you are, too something for the ordinary mechanisms of love to accommodate without significant management on your part. That narrative is a lie. But it is a lie that connections requiring shrinking tell very consistently and very convincingly. And after enough time inside those connections, the lie starts to feel like self-awareness rather than a distortion. It starts to feel like you are simply being realistic about who you are and what love with you requires from the other person. It starts to feel like the editing and the management are not suppression, but accommodation of a genuine truth about your own difficult nature. Drop an amen in the comments right now if you have ever started to believe that who you fully are might be too much for someone to love without reservation. Here is what I need you to understand about your person, and this is the part that is going to shift something in the way you see yourself and what you bring to love. Your person is not going to need you to manage yourself for them. Not because they are going to be completely without needs or preferences or the natural human responses that arise when someone they love does something that affects them, but because what you are going to experience with them is fundamentally different from what you have been experiencing in the connections that required shrinking. The difference is that your management of yourself will not be a requirement for their comfort. It will not be the price of their continued presence. It will not be the condition under which their love remains available to you. With your person, the full version of you is not going to be something they tolerate or accommodate or work around. It is going to be what they fell in love with. The depth that exhausted the wrong people is going to be what your person draws closer. The intensity that made certain connections feel unstable is going to be what your person finds most compelling about you. The particular and sometimes inconvenient ways you love and need and move through the world are going to be the specific things that your person looks at and thinks, "This is exactly what I have been looking for," without knowing how to name it. Your person is going to love what they find, not despite it being fully you, because it is fully you, because they were built with the exact capacity to receive everything you carry without asking you to reduce it first, because their love for you is not contingent on a version of you that is manageable. It is designed for the version that is real. And the real version, the full, unreduced everything you have been hiding in connections that were not built to hold it, is the only version that was ever going to be able to receive the love that your person has to give. Because that love was designed for all of you, not the edited version, all of you. And it cannot land properly on someone who is not fully present to receive it. Here is what I need you to do right now, and this is the most important thing I am going to say in this entire message. Stop auditioning. That is what the forcing has actually been, an extended audition for roles in connections that were never casting for someone like you, where you have been showing up and performing the version of yourself most likely to get the part, and then wondering why, even when you get it, the role does not feel like it fits. Your person is not casting. They are not evaluating a performance and deciding whether what they saw was good enough to merit continued investment. When they find you, they are going to recognize you. Not in the audition sense of approving a presentation, in the deep knowing sense of encountering something they have been oriented toward without fully understanding what they were looking for. And you cannot be recognized if you are performing. You can only be recognized if you are present, fully, genuinely, unapologetically present as exactly who you are. Stop managing yourself for people who were never built to receive what you were managing. Stop editing the parts that got uncomfortable reactions in the wrong connections. Stop treating the most genuine expressions of who you are as liabilities to be concealed, rather than assets to be offered to someone who was built to value them. Show up as yourself. Completely, in every space and every connection and every moment where love might be possible. Not recklessly, with the wisdom and the discernment that your experiences have built, but authentically, without the performance, without the management, without the exhausting background process of making yourself fit somewhere you were never designed to fit. Because your person is not going to be found by the performance. They are going to be found by you, the real you, the full you, the you that has been waiting behind the management for a connection that was finally built to receive it without asking it to first become something smaller. Father, I come before you on behalf of every chosen one who has been exhausting themselves trying to fit into connections that were never built to hold everything they carry. Every beloved soul who has been shrinking their most genuine self in an attempt to make love possible in spaces that were never designed for the full version of what they bring. I thank you that the right connection does not require management, that it does not require performance, that it does not ask for a reduced version as the price of its continued presence. I declare that the shrinking ends today, that the performance is over, that the exhausting work of making themselves fit somewhere they were never designed to fit is being released right now and replaced with the settled, quiet confidence of someone who knows that their person was built to love everything they find. I declare that the right connection is coming, that it is coming to find the full version and not the managed one, and that what unfolds between them when it arrives is going to be the clearest possible evidence that the full version was always worth waiting for, and that no connection that required anything less was ever worth staying small for. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Stop forcing connections that require you to shrink, not because you are giving up on love, because you are finally choosing it properly, choosing the kind that was built for all of you, that does not require management or performance or the exhausting daily work of making yourself fit somewhere that was never shaped for what you actually carry. Your person is going to love everything they find, not in spite of the depth, because of it, not despite the intensity, because of it, not around the particular ways you love and need and move through the world, because of every single one of them. The full version of you was never too much. It was simply too much for the wrong people. And the wrong people were always the wrong people. Their inability to hold what you carry was never a verdict on the value of what you carry. It was simply evidence that they were not built for it. Your person is built for it. Every bit of it. Stop shrinking and let them find what was always worth finding. Like this video, if today you are choosing to stop performing and start simply being who you are. Share it with someone who has been exhausting themselves trying to fit into connections that were never built to hold them. And drop an amen in the comments if you are done shrinking and ready to be fully found by someone who was built to love everything they find. Your person is coming, and they are going to love all of you, every single part.